Alright, I'm going to roll up my sleeves for this one because I've been promising this and I intend to deliver. Several months ago, I made a video talking about my 10 favorite WWE matches of all time. And even though several good things have happened in the month since, the list holds up surprisingly well. But in that video, I mentioned this. Now that I've watched a lot more wrestling in the years since that video was uploaded in 2020, I have grown, I've matured, I know more about wrestling than I ever have, and I have changed my opinions so many times, and that list is incredibly different. And while I will make an updated version of that list, yes, a video is coming, just be patient, well, that day has come. Now, if you want to see that whole video, you can click here and call me insane in the comments. Why not? But I'm not going to waste any more time because I want to get this done and over with so you all can call me insane in the comments. Let's get into it. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and here is an updated version of my 10 favorite wrestlers of all time.
Number 10, Shinsuke Nakamura.
When I made this list the first time, which was about 4 years ago, I based every wrestler on that list solely off of their work in WWE. And while that's fine for a guy who was basically making his YouTube debut, I've grown, I've matured. I realize now that there's a lot more wrestling than just Vince McMahon's Berserkist Circus, and I took that into account for this list. So when I look back at Shinsuke Nakamura's work in New Japan Pro Wrestling, I fell in love with it. Like, that makes me sound like a mark, I know, but just go back and watch it for yourself. You'll see where I'm coming from. Matches with Kazuchika Okada, Tetsuya Naito, AJ Styles, Hiroshi Tanahashi especially, proved that in his heyday, Shinsuke Nakamura was one of the best wrestlers on the face of the planet, if not the best. And even when he got to WWE in early 2016, he proved that he belonged on the black and gold brand with matches like Bobby Roode, Samoa Joe, and crucially, Sami Zayn. While his main roster run has been, well, to be frank, disappointing, he still managed a decent level of success, having good to great matches against guys like Seth Rollins, AJ Styles, and especially one beautiful contest against John Cena. And even though he's had success as a tag team champion, US champion, intercontinental champion, and he won my favorite Royal Rumble match of all time, what I really love about Shinsuke Nakamura is his charisma. Because every time he is on TV, he grabs my attention because he does weird stuff, but it's a good kind of weird. The kind of weird stuff that forces you to watch, and it's captivating. It's kind of his whole gimmick.
Number 9, Steve Austin.
When I made this list the first time, I put Steve Austin at number 2. Kind of a crap decision because, I love Austin, but not that much. And while he's done some less than stellar stuff, like hitting Lita with a chair 9 times, calling Muhammad Hassan and his manager sand people, yes, he actually did that, and a whole host of questionable things during his heel run, everyone has to admit that Steve Austin is one of the best wrestlers to ever lace up a pair of boots. Doesn't matter who you are, you have to acknowledge that. The man embodies the phrase changing of the guard, because while stunning Steve Austin and begrudgingly the Ringmaster had been on TV previously, once he went stone cold and made people realize that, hey, this guy's gonna be a big deal, wrestling's never looked back. It has never been the same, and in my opinion, it's been better for it. When Austin became the biggest SOB in wrestling, he had matches against guys like Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, The Rock, and Vince McMahon, proving that he was untouchable in more ways than one. And even the heel turn, as much crap as I give it, forced him to become a better worker, and he did so, having excellent matches against guys like Chris Jericho, Chris Benoit, and Kurt Angle. Even now, which is nearly 30 years after the debut of the Stone Cold character, you have to admit that you get excited when you hear the glass shatter, because I know I do.
Number 8, Adam Copeland.
One of my favorite things about professional wrestling is returns. Established stars coming back into the fold to a joyous ovation. Adam Copeland's return is one of the best of all time, and spoiler, this isn't the last guy on this list with a career-defining comeback. Throughout his entire career, moments like hanging the Big Boss Man, to flash photography, to TLC matches, to Money in the Bank, to live sex celebrations, to his first retirement, to his epic return, to his AEW debut. All of those moments need to be mentioned when discussing the legend of the industry that is Adam Copeland. And I think he doesn't get enough credit as being a good in-ring worker, which he obviously is. Even before his retirement, matches with the likes of Randy Orton, The Undertaker, and John Cena proved that he was must-see TV. But what is crazy is that I think he's gotten better with time. He has aged like a fine wine, albeit a Canadian wine that was raised by a pack of wolves. I mean, seriously, look at the dude. It's grizzled. It's insane. Matches with Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and Finn Balor prove that he can still go. And currently, he's still going strong 25 years since making it to the big time.
Number 7, Kurt Angle.
It's not hyperbole when I say that Kurt Angle is one of the funniest wrestlers to ever live. I mean, playing guitar for Vince McMahon, battle rapping John Cena, whatever the heck he was doing with Edge and Christian back in the day, all those moments prove that he's just hilarious. But what I really, really love about Kurt Angle is that he has this ability to flip a switch and just force this killer instinct that he has to come into play, and he obliterates anyone he's in the ring with. Well, let's go back to the beginning of his career for a second. Vince McMahon took a guy that legitimately won an Olympic gold medal for his country and debuted him as a heel. It's one of the biggest strokes of genius in wrestling history, and no one knew it was going to work out. That's down to the talents of Kurt Angle, who quickly adapted into becoming one of the best pro wrestlers of all time. And even after his unceremonious exit from WWE in 2006 and a lengthy run in TNA, WWE and its fans alike welcomed him back with open arms, and he continues to be a cherished member of the WWE family to this day, even with the horrendous storyline that was Kurt Angle's illegitimate son. But the less said about that, the better. Just focus on the good stuff.
Number 6, John Cena.
4 years later, and Cena is still in my top 10. If you disagree with me, you can meet me in a stairwell and I will push you down a flight. But in all seriousness, in his WWE career, John Cena has garnered a lot of hate from fans. Some unfairly, some very fairly. But despite all of that, you have to admit that Cena's one of the best to ever do it. The hatred for Cena can be boiled down to 3 words. Cena wins lol. Because in the mid-2000s and all the way to the mid-2010s, for like a solid 10-year stretch, Cena would continuously win in situations where he probably shouldn't have. But to give credit to Big John, in the years since that, he's tried to rectify that. He has put countless guys over because at the end of the day, John Cena loves professional wrestling. He loves this business and he wants it to thrive for a future generation. That's why he's putting guys like Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, and LA Knight over. It just makes me respect Cena even more. And that's a guy who literally has respect on every single t-shirt he's ever been printed on.
Number 5, The Rock.
What is there to be said about The Rock that hasn't been said in a million different ways in a million different songs? He's the Brahma Bull, which if you haven't seen an actual Brahma Bull, don't. It's a cow with a goiter. You'll have nightmares. Trust me. He's the great one. He's the people's champion. He's the most electrifying man in all of sports entertainment. And he's just a great guy. Like, in real life, he's fun, but in wrestling, he's just, no pun intended, electrifying. Earlier, I spoke of Kurt Angle being one of the funniest wrestlers to ever live, but honestly, Dwayne might have him beat. Because in his heyday, whenever he grabbed a microphone, you were guaranteed excellence. He's the greatest talker in wrestling history, and that goes a long way into making someone one of the best to ever lace up a pair of boots. I mean, he's no slouch in-ring either, but his sheer charismatic ability just proves why he's one of the most popular and most talented and most valuable stars in entertainment today.
Number 4, Bryan Danielson.
At the end of the day, what this list is about is wrestlers. And no one on this list encapsulates the word wrestler better than Bryan Danielson, or for the children in the audience who have only ever watched an episode of Raw or SmackDown, Daniel Bryan. Remember earlier when I said when I'm factoring in a guy's work outside of WWE as well as their work in it? Well, Bryan Danielson's work in AEW has forced me to rethink my opinion of the guy because, like Adam Copeland, he has gotten better with time and it does not make scientific sense. His AEW showcases with the likes of Kenny Omega, Hangman Page, and MJF are some of the best matches of the decade. Better yet, this side of the millennium. And even though the man is in his 40s, he gives it his all every time he steps in a ring. And that's been the motive throughout his entire career. From his work in Ring of Honor, to his first WWE run, to his second WWE run, to his current AEW run. You just can't kill the guy. The award for Best Technical Wrestler of the Year is called the Bryan Danielson Award. And Bryan Danielson has won that award since his return in 2018. That just proves how good the dude is.
Number 3, CM Punk.
Recency bias? Maybe a little bit. But you can't deny that CM Punk has grown into a legend of the wrestling industry, for better or for worse. His independent work is the stuff of wrestling legend, especially his work of Ring of Honor. And when he got to WWE, and especially dropped the pipe bomb, that legend only grew. Much like John Cena, CM Punk is one of the biggest polarizing figures in recent wrestling history. The only difference being, for Cena, it was on screen. And for Punk, it's behind the cameras. His WWE exit in 2014 was controversial. His pro wrestling return / AEW debut was electrifying. And his WWE return at Survivor Series just a few weeks ago was electrifying. It doesn't matter what might happen, because at the core of it all, I'll always be a CM Punk fan.
Number 2, Jon Moxley.
I've grown into a bigger Jon Moxley fan with each year that passes, and while I'm not a particular lover of the hardcore style, it always draws my attention, and that's largely thanks to this guy. I mean, I liked him when he was Dean Ambrose because he was wacky, zany, fun most of the time, but it was his transformation into Jon Moxley that opened my eyes to a wider world of wrestling. Without him, I wouldn't like New Japan, sure as heck wouldn't like AEW, and I wouldn't like all these other promotions like Ring of Honor and TNA that constantly fly under the radar of wrestling fans. He is unrecognizable from his former self, and like a lot of other guys on this list, he has gotten better with age. Say what you want, but no amount of extreme blood loss is going to change that.
And number 1, The Undertaker.
I rewrote this list several times, but the one thing that did not change was my number 1. He is the greatest wrestler to ever live. I mean, he is. Nobody will ever encapsulate my love of wrestling like The Undertaker. The Undertaker got me into wrestling. This channel wouldn't exist if I didn't love The Undertaker as much as I do. He's an undead Western zombie voodoo priest, and he's simultaneously the best and most respected worker this industry has ever seen. Without a shadow of a doubt, The Undertaker, Mark Calloway, is the greatest professional wrestler of all time.
And that's my list. Thanks for watching. Did I miss anything out? If I did, tell me in the comments section down below. Don't forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe. And you can follow me on Twitter here. I'm Jackson Haney from Insane Internet Wrestling, and I will see you soon.